This is a still work in progress here, like Fat Buddy Cat says. And I kind of put this on the back burner. So I got the wheel installed. Still working out the clearances on this caliper. But for this part right here, the way I attach this here, if anybody's interested, this is a conduit bracket which I kind of bent around this shock here, the fork, but I think if I keep this thing in right angle here. So that's the top of the shock. See. So I've been working on, but what I need to do is spread this apart. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. Take some 1/4 inch stock and put in between this pinched part here, so it pulls this over, because I got it centered on the pole here, or on the post, or the tube here. So all I'll do is make a bracket for this piece over here. I kind of drew it out. This is plastic template, not a cardboard aided design. But it's sort of kind of like what the bracket down at the bottom here is going to look like. So I'll hook up to here and then hook into here, but there's a issue here because this is higher than this. This bolt hole is higher or deeper in than this, so I have to. I seen how they did it on Go Power Sports. They just added bar stock or something and drilled channels in it, so you can use any position. This is going to be more precise for one drill, one hole. You know, I'm not going to make sliding holes because I don't have that technology. Well, I could, but it's a lot of work. So that's where I'm at on this. Might be a part 2 or 3, I don't know. Just chopping videos, adding videos together. Alright, like, share, and subscribe. Alright, this is it's me again, TRAILMASTER MB200. It's been kind of busy working on my trailer and trying to fix my car. This is what for the front brake on the Black Pearl here. I actually got it to fit on here, right here. That's a 1/4 inch piece of steel. So I had some spacers. I had to cut off a spacer. But right now, the issue I'm running into, because it's really tight. I marked where it was catching. Alright, so it's like right now it's dragging against the top top this side over here on this edge. So what I found out is that my bracket, the bolt-on bracket I welded on here, it's just a hair off. Like, you know, piece of paper, thin piece of paper. So it runs pretty good here, and then it starts to. But what I'm gonna do is I have to take this apart anyways and clean all this up and then paint it. But pretty much, it actually works pretty good, real freely until I get to that point. So what I got to do is on here, I march right there, and then that bolt, and that bolt underneath the plate, between the plates, I'm going to put like a shim. So I'm going to put a shim behind here, between the plate and this one and this one, and hopefully it'll level this out a little bit. So it's gonna, you know, I'm not in a real big hurry, but this is what I got so far. But you know, this is spare. That's a Yamaha blaster, the rear wheel, same the disc. So, but I'll probably end up sanding down the disc, but that's pretty much the bracket's done. And because you're not the stress is coming up. This is the pulling stress right here. That's 1/4" steel, plate steel. This here is just going to keep the bracket in a line, you know. And I've got a little piece of, I'm not sure what that is. I think it's like a leather. It feels like a leather. I think it's a plastic. It feels like leather, the strap. So I've been cutting it up and using them in here. I should fix that and just use these pieces. There it is. So, but so far, and all I gotta do is, if I pull on this, it'll, I don't know if I can tell or not. Here, pull on it. Okay, I pull. Well, I think it's out of adjustment. Once I straighten that disc and get it perfectly straight on there, then I'll be able to adjust it. There's an adjustment wheel inside this thing. You have to take that off. That's where that gasket is. And this is where it hooks up to the lever inside here that turns this. But there's an adjustment in there that you can dial in there, that you dial it in, I guess. You brake the distance of the brake pad to the disc. So we'll see. But it's still working on it. But it looks pretty good, I think. I mean, I'm like getting winded on this. I don't know. I think it works out. I saved myself a ton of money. We'll see if this bracket is good. I mean, the heavy roll is here but I've got 1/4". That's 1/4" steel. I mean, that ain't going nowhere. And these are stainless steel bolts. Except it's really close to the tire. I'm probably going to end up, you know, grinding some of these bolt heads down flatter. You know, but how I did that, I put that 1/4 inch spacer in there, so it's actually centered centered this better on there. So now I just have to level that. So, but I marked it. I know where I'm gonna be shimming it. So, okay. This is another part to the other part 2 or whatever. Catch you later. Yeah, I've been kind of messing with there's a clearance issue in there. I don't know if you can hold this thing still. It's still rubbing against the one side over here, so what I've decided to do is take the disc off again and shim it again, because it's still tilted a little bit, angled on one corner, like a 1/64th of 1/32 of an inch, right there where it's the point is, right where that bolt is next to the shock mount, the shock. Now that's, if you look at, there's not a lot of clearance there, and I can't, even if I spaced it out and brought that out, then it pulls the whole thing out. So I'm gonna have to like trim some bolt heads, like the bolt head on this. I can get in there. The back one isn't rubbing. Oops. So yeah, it's rubbing the tire, so I'm gonna have to grind that bolt head down. This one here, the other one then behind it isn't rubbing. I don't know if it's this bracket. I've moved shims around and spacers in there to try to get it, and it's ultimately just pretty tight in there. So I don't know. I may even thread the body of the right there where the bolt goes through, put threads in there, and maybe just bolt it from the other side. I mean, you know, maybe bolt it from this, you know, screw it in from here and attach it, instead of having a bolt through here and then a nut on that side. I don't know, but it's, I think it's cast aluminum or steel. I'm not really sure. I haven't put a magnet to it. I just thought I'd update this quick video on the part of the series that I'm doing on this. So it's gonna probably be a longer video, but I don't videotape me working. I just the progress. So more on later. So it's moving right along. A little bit of update on the Black Pearl's front disc brake build or modification. And I had to so in order to when you make these things, the steel tube right here, well, that lip down here, I didn't want to ruin if anybody was wondering. I didn't want to ruin the, try to put a bead in here and get this thing all distorted out of here because of the bearings. I had to take the bearings out, clean them. So, but it will, you know, you should take the bearings out. But I left them in because I left the bearings in when I welded this. You know, so, but this part here, the square right here, I welded it to this tube before I slipped it over there. So inside the tube there's another sleeve in there which I use to as a spacer to keep it centered on here because it's a little bit bigger tube. But I wanted to so I put a divot in there where so I know which way to put this thing on. Since I just painted it. I decided to go with threads in here. So I re-drilled it and threaded each one of these holes instead of because it was getting to be a pain in the butt having to take off the disc and put it back on. So in order to get the sleeve in the right spot, I put a dimple there. I put it there so on this hole. So what I have to do basically is I put a little, like a, this is kind of like a plastic washer. Oh, get it in right. And I'll put that there. You know, and then pretty much I put the disc on there, and then using these bolts I screw it down. Now if I want to really make sure it doesn't come off, I'll put a nut on the other side, but it threads through the hole just fine. I probably put some thread locker on it, but for taking it on and off, it works. So I just wanted to make this clear on how this thing was set up. Okay. Let me change up the scene here. I'm kind of doing a log on this, so people might want to do this. So this is kind of like, I would say, this is a piece of aluminum that you can buy at Ace Hardware. So it comes like this. I think it's either aluminum or tin. It comes in rolls, like a 50-foot roll for like $20. It's like, I think that's like 4 inches. I think it's 4 inches, but I've used it a lot. But it makes for a nice little spacer to raise, because I had to raise up. So when you weld these things on, it's a little bit, it isn't like perfectly squared to the axle, you know. So one side was like where this little divot is. Where's it at? It's a good thing I pop marked it with the so right here, this divot is the one that's low. This side is kind of like, it's a little low, so I just, what the little rubber thing is for is a little spacer to, because when it was riding inside the caliper over here, when it was riding inside the caliper, it was you know, doing this, you know. So this is getting to be a long drawn out video. 5 minutes. Okay, well, be another part to this. I'm just doing them in series. Okay. Alright, I'm back. Had to set this up. other than the alignment of the disc. I just wanted to show people. Okay, this came off a Yamaha Blaster, which was damaged in a tree. Tree fell on it, bent the frame up, and I bought it the Blaster for 150 bucks, I think. But the motor, it's a 200cc two-stroke motor, Yamaha motor, and it runs. But I'm not using, so I decided to try to see if I can get this rear brake from the Blaster to fit it on the mini bike, the TRAILMASTer MB200, and so this is what I'm doing here. I had to scavenge around. This had to be long enough to the cable. So this cable was off the Blaster too, but I needed it to be, because a rear brake on the Blaster is done with a foot pedal, and it had different cable on it, but I had scavenged just up, and I had to cut the end off because I couldn't get it through the little hole here. There's this thing. This screws into here all the way through, and so without having to, I don't know if you can see down in there. But on the end was I had to cut the end of that cable off, and it just left it a little frayed at the end. So basically I took my welder, a Hobart, and these are the settings that I use. Oh, it's a little dusty. To put a couple of blobs of weld onto the steel cable, because and you could take it off by pulling this pin out. This pin, get the pin in the, there's pins like that, right? One side is smaller, the other side's bigger, obviously. But I welded the end up with welds. So now you just take this, and you take the big part and you put it in here like this. And what it does, it goes down through the bottom, through this part, and down at the bottom, and it catches the cable. Okay, so without having to tear all this thing apart, because I just got it all back together. This thing right here, if you ever, it's like loose, you want to adjust your brakes, you turn this in here. Watch it click. Here it clicks, and it actually pushes the pad down, but it's supposed to be self-adjusting, and we'll see. And somehow the gasket, I had the gasket for this thing sitting on a workbench, and it just disappeared. So I don't know what happened to it. I might have lost it or something, but but that's it. That's the what I wanted to talk about on this part of the brake. As you can see, without losing it. See, what happens is you pull the cord, and this thing spins somehow, and it closes the gap. And it goes back. It's spring loaded up in here without having to take this. This thing will come out, and I don't know if you can look down in there. It's too bright. See? and all it does is it ratchets inside there and keeps self-adjusting itself. So every time you squeeze the trigger, up here. So from the blaster, I had dug out a hand grip. All this is probably going to be painted, and I had to move my little switch around. But I just kind of threw this together because this thing needs I think it needs a nut on the other end. But I had to get one with the little it's like a barrel thing, so it rides in there. Anyways, if you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen brake levers, the insides of the bolt here, it's like a sleeve in there. But anyways, but this has come off the blaster too, so my next step is going to be putting it all back together with the new cable setup. And hopefully I got enough length in there to do it. Because I have it set like this set. I would rather wanted the front brake on this side, but I just soon just have it over here. This is the rear brake and that's the front brake. So so much for my bull. Well, another part to the brake thing. I hope this is kind of informative for the blaster brakes, which I'm converting into a front disc brake, mechanical brake. And another thing, let me put that on, that I decided to thread, because this case came apart here and not above it. So I'm threading this. So I threaded this, and I'm using a different bolt because of the bolt from behind, and I had to grind down some of the fins on here just to keep it from rubbing. You can see where I was rubbing a lot. That was from the wheel. So, but I got rid of the bolt on this side, which was kind of really close to the tire, and the other side here is not even close. So we'll see. Well, that's it for this section, and we'll see how it goes. Bye. Like, share, and subscribe.